Well, hello guys, and welcome back to Star vs. the Forces of Evil. In this episode, we're taking a look at Season 1, Episode 19. Only one episode today, even though it is a half-hour special, and this is St. Olga's Reform School for Wayward Princesses. This is something that's been building up in the show since, the second episode, and it is good to see them actually building on this, because we finally see what St. O's is. We get introduced to a new villain who I think is a fine addition to the cast and definitely does make things more interesting. But the episode starts off with it's Ponyhead's birthday. Because remember, Ponyhead got sent to St. O's in her introductory episode, and Star is scared of St. O's. We get this joke with boots under the wall rug, which come back multiple times. It's an okay joke. But Ponyhead gets in trouble for expressing her individuality too many times, and she gets taken away to the conformant chamber. Yeah, no, they call this princess jail in previous episodes, and yeah, no, that's pretty accurate. That just from this opening, that's exactly what it reminds me of, especially with a conformant chamber. But Star thinks they need to go save Ponyhead, and Marco's on board, not because he cares for Ponyhead or anything, but because he likes Prison Breaks, and Prison Break movies are fun. Which does give a lot of potential to the episode ripping off Prison Break movies, which they do once or twice, but I feel like they never go too above and beyond with it, which I think is kind of a disappointment. I would have liked more Prison Break movie references, but what you gonna do? But they go to St. O's, and yeah, it's Princess Jail. What else did you expect? There's a group of new students showing up. How convenient. They have to break their way in, or well, Marco gives the idea. We get a Sailor Moon reference. I'm assuming it's a Sailor Moon reference. I mean, it could reference any of the other dozens of Magical Girl shows, but I don't really watch other Magical Girl shows besides Sailor Moon, because I'm a guy, but I like Sailor Moon, so what you gonna know? Well, and I've seen Madoka, but that's complicated. And then they give Marco a princess transformation into, Princess Marco. Now, I don't think this is controversial yet, because I don't feel like it's entered the mainstream. But there's a big fan theory that Marco may or may not be transgender, and this is kind of the episode that sparked it. If this was just a solitary incident, then yeah. But this happens multiple times, again and again, so they do have some basis to go on. I don't really care. It's a theory I'm fine with, but I don't like it. I want it to be canon if it's gonna happen, because in the same way I hate J.K. Rowling saying Dumbledore is gay after the books are over and never addressing it. I think the opposite is also true of fans saying a character is transgender with that never being the artist's intention. I feel like that's just as dangerous, and so just be careful. That doesn't mean, right, there are exceptions. You can have characters that aren't representation be representation because of how they're written, but it can be taken too far, so just be careful. But if this were to become canon, I'm totally on board with it. It again, the theory does have some weight to it. They then get into St. O's, and we get a promotional video, which is it's all about scrubbing away individuality, making rubber stamp princesses, which this is something that makes perfect sense in this world of, right? It's a world of princesses. And of course, these princesses are the heirs to their throne. You want someone who will be a proper heir. So something like St. O's existing in this world makes perfect sense. And then we get introduced to St. Olga herself. I know it's actually Miss Heinous. But would you really be surprised if I called her St. Olga? Really? That's just something I would do. But we get Miss Heinous. Miss Heinous is she's nothing. She's not an outstanding villain. She's she's the head of the academy. And she plays it like that. She's nothing outstanding. She's nothing that breaks the mold or anything. But yet I think she's a welcome addition to the cast. Because you have a villain like Ludo who is all goofy. You have a villain like Toffee who is very serious. I think Heinous is right. She's that middle ground. Plus you have, right, Ludo's all about the wand. Toffee's about magic, as we'll see. Heinous is just about the right royal lineage, but she's more of a villain for Marco, as we will also see. And I mean, Marco's had a villain, Jeremy, but she's another villain for Marco. And yeah, I think she's a welcome addition, because I think it's healthy for a show to have multiple villains. I mean, you can have Monster of the Week and all that, but it's good to have reoccurring villains. It just makes things more interesting. But Heinous explains that in this promotional video, they say there's no dimensional scissors and no magic, but yet we see magic used constantly throughout this episode, so that's technically a fault of the episode. But they do explain there are no dimensional scissors. They have this watchtower with a crystal in it. I couldn't even tell you what it's called. Don't at me. But it stops dimensional scissors from working. That's all you need to know. So most of the students give over dimensional scissors. Marco's like, no, we can just blow up the tower and get out of here with them. That'll be our escape route. Eventually, they're able to sneak away, and Star's just complaining about how horrible of a place this is, how it just destroys individuality. We see the monster princess from Sleep Spell. Again, this is something that's been building up. I'm happy for that. It's been building up, and I do think it's delivering. Seeing references to previous things, having Heinous be a threat, seeing that this is basically Princess Jail. And then we see Ponyhead, and Ponyhead is just broken. She's conformed, right? She's your ideal princess, and that shows the power at St. O's. That shows Heinous' power, that she's able to break Ponyhead in just presumably a few hours. It's really impressive. It gives a weight to this villain, which it does make her more interesting. And so they take Ponyhead and they're trying to sneak out. And eventually they get caught by some guards and they go into this ballroom and with all the princesses doing tea, and Marco starts a rebellion, right? It's not criminal to be an individual, which starts a rebellion and an uprising, which Heinous wants them to stifle immediately. And we kind of see in this moment, Heinous, she wants to stifle the uprising, but stifle isn't the right word, and she makes reference, get a thesaurus. I actually can relate to that. And yeah, I think Heinous does have her more funny aspects to her, which, yeah, I'll give her credit for that. Again, between Ludo and Toffee, we see that Marco has created a fake pony head using a kettle, candle, and like some cloth. And this is like, they reference, right, fake prison movies, right? We've seen this in prison movies where they create like a dummy of the person. I would have liked more. This is really the only major prison reference, this and the bobby pin, which Marco does lose eventually. That's important because he loses it later. But yeah, I wish there were more prison references. I'm not asking them to go like full Shawshank. Well, I wouldn't be against them going full Shawshank, honestly. But we get this chase scene continue, and eventually they wind up in a room, I remember the first time I saw this episode, I was like, this means something. Because we see on the ceiling, there's a mural of demons, right, invading, and then on the floor, there's a moon, a star, and what's presumably a sun with like an object in front of it, it looks like, so maybe an eclipse. But there is definitely something going on here. But so, as of recording this, season 3 wrapped like over 6 months ago. Season 4 probably begins early 2019, presumably. This has never come back, has it? Because on the walls we see carvings of lizards. So I always assumed this was like a reference to Toffee. But it wasn't, as far as I can tell. This has never come back. So this is something I'm curious to see if we will see in season 10 or in season 4. God, I'm losing my mind. Right, if we'll see in season 4, maybe even beyond then, who knows how many more seasons this show has. But yeah, it's always something that's wondered me that shows up very early on and 2 seasons later has yet to be addressed. I mean, they can take all the time they need. I mean, they take their time with Heinous. Kind of. But eventually, Star and Ponyhead are able to escape down the laundry chute while Marco gets caught. And we find out the conformant chamber is the Ludovice technique. Another fine movie reference, actually. Where, yeah, they hold her eyes open and she watches all these videos about proper princess etiquette. That works really well. It's funny. I can barely remember characters' names and gender. Or, well, I just say genders wrong because that's me. But I can barely remember characters' names half the time. And yet I can still remember Ludovice after all this time. Ugh, God, my memory's weird. But eventually, Star down in the laundry chute, there's this poster that's about conforming. And Star rips it up, and Ponyhead rips it up. And hey, Ponyhead's back to normal. Yay! It's not perfect, right? And a detail I'd never noticed is after they rip the poster when they leave, it becomes a thing about embrace your individuality. That's a detail I like. I've never noticed it before, but it works. And yeah, Marco tries to break out of this machine, but it doesn't work. And then Star and Ponyhead come in to save him, and they break Marco free. And Star creates like a moth thing, and it freaks Heinous out, and she has clubs on her cheek. This is the intrigue part of Heinous. This is like something more is going on here, because Star has hearts, Moon has diamonds. So Heinous has clubs, which I've called spades several times in the past because, again, I get everything wrong. What else is new? But yeah, and she has these clubs, and she eventually gets rid of them by going into solitary confinement, and that makes them fade away. But it is definitely like, what's going on here? There is definitely something going on here. And then Marco is able to find the other princesses, and they hold a revolution and overthrow the place. Star's able to shoot a magic missile because, again, magic still works. It's a weird little thing I've always noticed about the promotional video, but it's always wrong. We also see as they fight off the guards, we see a pixie use magic. So magic is definitely allowed here. I have no idea why they say it. Maybe it's just like an idle threat that doesn't actually mean anything. It's like security theater. But yeah, they overthrow the guards, and they have this epic party at the end, and Ponyhead decides to stay. Because now that they've overthrown Heinous, they can make this a party school. And yeah, Ponyhead would fit in perfectly at a party school. That makes perfect sense. And to end off the episode, we see that because of Marco's bobby penny left behind, Heinous is able to do some metallurgy on it and discover it's from Earth. And she swears she will annihilate them, more specifically Princess Marco. Because Marco's the one she associates with the rebellion. Yeah, no, it's a great setup for a villain. Yeah, no, everything that was built up here is fulfilled upon. I think St. Olga's is a great place for a setting, and we will see it again now that it's a party school with Ponyhead staying here. There are some hints to future episodes, and it also delivered on previous episodes. Everything about it just worked, and I really like this episode. It's one of my favorites from the season. Probably just from the season. We'll see when we get later on. Next time we have... What is next time's episode? Independence Day and the Benagic incident. Again, pairing a really great episode with one that I remember being pretty bad. We'll see. But I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.